Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's start taking all of your stock-related queries, and the number that you can write to us is flashing on the top of your screens as well as on your screens. Do remember to mention the buy price for the stocks that you're already invested in, and for the ones that you're hoping to invest in, do remember to mention the time horizon that you then have in mind. The first query, Dhwani, that we have is coming in from B. Soumya, who's writing to us from Chennai. And I'm going to go ahead and take it across to you because GNFC is the stock that she's talking about at a buy price of 700 rupees. What kind of targets are you expecting as far as this stock is then concerned?
All right, the stock has definitely been trading lower than her buy price, and in recent times also we've been seeing that the stock is facing a certain correction. On the higher side, there are multiple levels of resistances that we see over here. The nearest one is around 590 level that the stock needs to cross on the higher side to gain further buy side momentum over here. Though the support level that we are seeing from past few days on the short-term basis is at 520. So I would suggest you've already seen a good amount of fall over here. Keep a stop loss at 520. Given these levels are also taken down, you'll see further fall coming in over here. But on the higher side, having crossed 590, then I would suggest hold on to it for a longer period of time. Even averaging on crossing of 590 is suggested. On the higher side, the stock, given it crosses above the resistance level, 660 is what one should be looking up for.
That's a take on GNFC. Sharmila, coming to you, next query coming in from a viewer Vidya from Chennai, who's a short-term trader, so specifically asking for a slightly shorter-term view and asking for an attractive entry point for Cipla. Is now a good time to buy the stock, make a fresh entry, or some more time? And if so, what's the correct level that you would think would be a good one to enter into Cipla?
This is a good level, but I'm speaking completely from a longer term perspective. If you want a shorter term view, and I think it's better to take a technical call.
Well, absolutely. So, all right, then that's the take coming in. As far as Cipla is concerned, Dhwani, I just wanted to know if you had a view coming in on this particular counter then.
Absolutely. For short-term basis, we do see that Cipla is forming a base formation over here. On the lower side, 1420 to 25 is a level where the buying range for this particular counter is coming up at. So from the current levels, I would not suggest her to buy immediately. Wait in for another 1 or 2 sessions. Given 1420 to 25 level is sustained, then buy action can be done from these levels.
Coming back to you, because we have a slightly technical query coming in from our viewer Satyan here. He's asking for average levels for Mphasis. He wants to hold for 1 year time frame, and he's holding this stock from 7 to 8% higher levels, which means I'm assuming that he's currently making a slight bit of a loss when it comes to Mphasis. What's the outlook going ahead? Should he continue to hold, buy more right now to average, or make a complete exit?
Hold on to it. The counter is definitely making a support on the lower side. The base over here that one can see out is at 2700, 2730 odd levels. And from those levels, we've seen a constant bounce coming in this particular counter. These are also the levels where one can look out to average over here. Keeping a stop loss on the lower side that would be suggested is 2750. And on the higher side, given we see 2960 being taken out, then there will be further gains coming in. One can look out for 3100 to 3200 on the short-term basis over here.
All right, then that's a take coming in. As far as Mphasis then is concerned, Sharmila, I'm going to come right back to you because we do have a senior citizen who's written to us, hasn't mentioned his name, but wants to know about a couple of counters actually. Tata Power 425 shares purchased at a buy price of 327 rupees, and even BHEL 200 shares at a buy price of 201 rupees. What do you make of both of these counters, Tata Power as well as BHEL?
The two probably at this level, really honestly speaking, because of his acquisition price. I do like both the stocks, but I think for him maybe Tata Power could give better returns. Simply because the outlook on the stock is better. The kind of balance sheet they have built, the kind of projects that they have. Then I think where power is concerned, another big sort of piece that we are going to see getting played out is the fact that anybody who is in renewable or green energy or that kind of an approach will those will be the themes that markets will watch for. And Tata Power has sort of made all the right noises where that is concerned. They are entering that space. They have spoken about EV batteries, etc. So I do think that there is a good upside in Tata Power from a longer term perspective. So that I think is a definite hold. Even BHEL for that matter, he's bought BHEL at a fairly high price because I've really been recommending BHEL since it was in double digits, because that's when you started seeing the sort of the change happening, and that they're getting back to better numbers, better orders, etc. So now a lot of positives are in the price, so he will have to be a little patient here. But having said that, this is also a good stock, so I would really, from a longer term perspective, recommend a hold on both.
Whole call coming in on both of those stocks. Thanks, Sharmila, for that very detailed view. Dhwani, coming to you, next viewer query coming in from Mr. Padma Sevarao from Bangalore, asking us if now is a good time to buy Jio Financial. What's your view on this stock, and a good time? Is it attractive enough to buy right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Jio Financials, I would not suggest to enter at these current levels. On the lower side, the stock is definitely facing a certain pressure. There was already a downside channel that we saw in this particular counter, and a breakdown of the same has also been witnessed over here. So from current levels, I would not suggest an entry in Jio Financial.
Don't suggest an entry as far as current levels are concerned. As far as Jio Financial Services is then concerned, the next one that I have for you, Sharmila, is coming in from Vidya, writing to us from Singapore, wants to know about Apollo Tyre. Any levels that you're looking at? Can she make a fresh entry, in fact, at this point?
The tires space is concerned, I think what we have really witnessed is that because of we have sort of seen a little bit of a slowdown in the kind of numbers, monthly numbers that passenger vehicles, etc., have given us. Some of the auto ancillaries have also sort of corrected along with the rest of the market. And while Apollo Tyres is a good stock, the valuations, to my mind, could correct a little further to make it an attractive entry point. So as of now, I would say no, don't be in a hurry to buy it. Definitely put it on your buy list. And as I suggested, I think the next month, coming month could give us an opportunity. You could revisit it then.
So take on Apollo Tyres. Dhwani, next query coming in from our viewer Vignesh from Bangalore, asking about Amara Raja Batteries is the stock. He's holding 310 shares of this stock at a price of 1,091 rupees per share. It's a very nominal loss right now. He's asking if we should add more at the current price or continue to just hold on and wait. Would it be a good hold at this price for the next 2 years? That's his target coming in. That's his price, a time horizon as well. So what's your outlook on the charts when it comes to Amara Raja Batteries? Dhwani, that one's for you.
Definitely hold on to this particular counter. The stock is hovering around its support level. On the lower side, we see that a strong support level is coming in this particular counter at the lower side of 1,000 to 1,030. And from there, we have seen the bounce coming in this one. So averaging is not suggested, but hold on to the current levels that are there. And on the higher side, once the stock crosses above 1160 levels, you'll see further gains coming in. From a broader perspective of long term, 1440 is what one should be looking out for in this counter as gains on the higher side, and on the lower side, stop loss as suggested 1,000 is what is to be maintained.
For the next one, I wanted to quickly come back to you because Cyan DLM is the counter that Bala from Coimbatore is holding on to. 175 shares, buy price is 650 rupees. So what do you make of this particular counter? Because currently sitting on losses as far as this particular holding is concerned. Time to move on to some other stock then?
Yeah, definitely. This particular counter is facing certain hurdle on the higher side. In fact, in the last 3 sessions, we have seen a breakdown coming in this one. Though there is a bounce that we are observing from the last 2 sessions over here, this wouldn't sustain much long. It's a sell on rise candidate from the current levels. The fall should continue on the lower side till 550 odd levels. And on the higher side, it's very important for this one to cross 615 for any reversal into the breakdown that has come into this one. So I would suggest exit out of it. There are other counters where you'll see selective buying happening, but in current scenario, given the volatility, I would suggest sitting on cash would be a better option.
So that's the outlook coming in. let's talk about Delta Corp, Sharmila, because that's the next query coming in from our viewer Lakshmi Narayan from Hyderabad. And in fact, she's also asked Dhwani this question, so would appreciate a combined take coming in both on the fundamentals and the technicals when it comes to Delta Corp. It's a recent earnings candidate as well. Our viewer holds 60 shares at a price of 213 rupees per share and is currently sitting at a massive loss of 45%. Time to sell, or can they hold in hopes for some kind of revival, some recovery? Sharmila, you go first on the fundamentals, and Dhwani, then we'll come to you on the charts for Delta Corp.
Well, I like the stock. In fact,
Okay.
I own it also. But the problem is that overall, the kind of sort of, the way these stocks are perceived as sort of sin sector and the kind of taxation issues they face, or, some or the other legislation goes against them. And it's not been a really happy experience being invested in this stock. It's too volatile. It has big moves in either direction. The good thing is that they have a case hearing coming up, which will talk about the GST, whatever angle that they have hanging over the head. So you could probably wait for the outcome of that. If you get a favorable outcome, you get your price. My advice really would be to exit. I still own the stock, but as I said, for the past many years, I've seen it move very violently both ways. So I really wouldn't recommend holding on to the stock.
Then, so that's the take coming in as far as Delta Corp is concerned, and that's what Sharmila then had to say, that there is a caveat at play, but it is a good stock at this point. Dhwani, do you concur? What is your view on this one?
So definitely over here, the chartical structures are suggestive that it's hovering around its support level of 100, 102 odd levels. And from there, we've seen the bounce coming in. The same levels is what I'm talking about, where we had seen in September 2020. And from those levels, the stock had given a good bounce on the higher side. In fact, in last year, May as well, if you look up at the weekly charts, those are the levels where the stock had sustained. On the higher side, 150 is that, has to be broken out on the higher side for an entire structural reversal to happen over here. So if you're looking up at short-term bets, then yes, definitely keeping a stop loss lower side on at 100, one can go long into it. On the higher side, 150 is where you should book your profits.
So that's the take on Delta Corp on the charts as well. Hope that answers your query. But on that note, Dhwani, thanks so much for joining us on the show. We'll let you go. Sharmila, stay on with us. We'll slip into a very short break and be right back on Buy Now, Sell Now, where we'll be addressing a lot more of your queries. So viewers, keep writing to us on the numbers that's flashing on top of your screen. Hi there, welcome back to Buy Now, Sell Now. Quickly taking a look at what the markets are doing. Nifty below that 23,300 level, but still eking out some, holding on to some gains, 0.3% higher. Sensex not too far behind, 0.3% uptick coming over there as well. Let's take a look at what the broader markets are doing right now, because Nifty Bank is also holding up pretty smartly in today's trade. Nifty mid-cap, well, yes, the broader market seem to be outperforming the markets once more, 1.3% uptick over there. And well, small cap is back. It's found its mojo once again after a recent slight bit of a correction coming in on that index, outperforming the market once again. India VIX looking good. Let's hope we slip below 15 again today. But on that note, let me also welcome on board Osho Krishan, the Senior Analyst of Technical and Derivative Research at Angel One, who will be here on the technical front, and Sharmila is joining us once again on the fundamentals as well. Osho, good morning and thanks so much for joining us. Let's get you the first query coming in from our viewer Jude from Mumbai, who's writing to us, has a technical query and asking for levels of BEL, and if it would be a good time to add more BEL. What's your take on BEL on the charts? How's the stock looking?
Good morning to all of you. Well, looking at the technical data of BEL, then this counter has been trading on the lower front below the 200 simple moving average, and there has been some kind of negative development which was seen in this counter. So overall, the counter is still into a bearish kind of a cycle, but looking at the recent development in the last 3 trading sessions, I'm expecting that from here onwards, there is a potential for a pullback in this counter towards the higher zone of 290. But it might be just a small short-term pullback in this counter. But once it surpasses the zone of 290 on a decisive manner, then we can see a continuation on the higher front for this counter. So even for short term, one can definitely accumulate it for 290 as a target. And once it breaches the zone of 290, then we need to review the counter for a higher target of nearly 320, 330 in the medium term time frame perspective.
So take as far as BEL then is concerned, the next one, Sharmila, that we have is coming in from Girish, who's writing to us about Asian Paints, wants to know about the 50 shares that he's holding on to. Buy price is 2,500 rupees, which is much higher, in fact, than the current market price. So what do you make of this one then?
Paints as a sector, we've seen the kind of trouble they've been in this last year or so. There has been announcement of 2 new players entering into the market, and we have seen a PE sort of a correction in the entire space. And I think then when you see that kind of a correction, it stands to reason that you will probably see the biggest cut in Asian Paints, because it was trading at slightly higher valuations than the rest of the paint companies. So along with that, we've seen sort of indifferent numbers. We've seen some top level exits, etc. So there's been a lot of things that have been going wrong for the stock. So in a nutshell, I think it's a good company. It will take time to recover. If you have the patience, stay invested. Paints as a sector is something that I would continue to stay positive on. We need to see how sort of everything settles down once the new entrants are there, what kind of market share they're able to take, and how that impacts the overall picture. But that said, the growth here, to my mind, will continue to be good, given what all is happening in real estate, etc. So I think if you have the patience, it would be a good idea to stay invested, because to my mind, this would be the wrong price to sell.
All right, then this would be the wrong price to sell as far as Asian Paints is concerned. Now, the stock, of course, is painting a dull picture as far as the last 3 months and 6 months are concerned. But let's move on to the next one that we have coming in from Jay Krishnan, writing to us from Kerala Osho about Siemens at a buy price of 7,378 rupees. And he's purchased the stock for the medium term. That is also something that he's mentioned. But what do you make of this particular holding then?
Siemens have seen a very strong correction from the higher zone of 8,000 and is now hovering towards the 6,000 odd level. So there has been some strong breakdown which was seen in this counter around the zone of 6,700, and from there onwards again the counter have slipped very strongly. But I'm expecting that there is a possibility for this counter to have a kind of a pullback, because the overall technical parameters have plunged towards the oversold territory. So I'm expecting that in the short term perspective, the counter has a possibility to retest the zone of 66, 6,700 odd levels. But from there onwards, if it we need to review the counter that whether it will be surpassing the break neckline zone of the breakdown, or whether it can continue its sideways to bearish kind of a momentum. So for short-term traders, yes, definitely one can hold this counter for targets like 66 and 6,700.
Call coming in from Osho on Siemens. Sharmila, coming to you. Very interesting queries coming up next, and it's via our viewer Professor G.T. Rao from Visakhapatnam, and he has said that Hindenburg has finally shut shop. That's the news flow we've seen today. He's asking, would now be a good time to invest in the Adani group? He has Adani ports for now. Which other stocks are looking attractive from the Adani group? And is the closure of Hindenburg the only reason why these Adani stocks would do well? Because other than that, how are these stocks looking fundamentally?
That's been my view, really. I don't think that one should be looking at Hindenburg report or anything, because I think that was done and dealt with, whatever. So now you need to sort of look at the stocks where they've fallen from their highs, what the business potential it offers you going ahead, what it does, how it looks in terms of valuations, etc. And then you need to judge them like any other stock. Let's not forget that you will continue to see some kind of news flow on this space, but as I said, I think now you just need to look at the stocks in the group on an entirely fundamental basis, how they look in terms of valuations. So I think, yes, Adani Ports would be a stock I would like in that space, given the fact that the port space is something that I'm positive on, in the entire infrastructure piece. Maybe another stock which has actually been doing well, so maybe you could wait for a correction. Is this whole Adani Green, Adani Power, because we spoke of Tata Power a little while earlier. To my mind, power sector and anything that is sort of in green energy or those kind of solutions is something that is a theme that market is liking. So from that perspective, again, these stocks look good to me. So I'm really completely looking at it, in that manner. I'm not been tracking what's been happening on that news flow front for a bit now.
Right, then time to look away from news flow and focus on fundamentals when it comes to a select few of those Adani group counters. Then that's the take coming in as far as Sharmila's view is concerned. But the next one that we have also is coming in from Sridhar, writing to us from Coimbatore, wants to know about Dalmia Bharat. 50 shares, buy price is 2,348 rupees. So what do you make of this particular counter then?
Again, has been into some kind of corrective phase, but there has been some consolidation at the lower end of 1700 odd level. So I'm expecting that in the short term time frame, there is a possibility for this counter to hover within a range of 1700 on the downside towards 1900 on the higher end. So this is the immediate trading range for the counter. The time we witness a strong breakthrough from these consolidation zone, then we can see a kind of a counter trend in the coming period. So for short term, 1900 can be seen as the immediate target. And then we again need to review that whether the bullish momentum should continue in this counter or not.
To take on Dalmia Bharat from Osho. Sharmila, next query coming in from our viewer Nak Kumar from Hyderabad, asking about CG Power. He currently holds 200 shares of CG Power at a buy price of 600 rupees per share. He's asking if he should retain it for a few more months now, would now be a good time to exit, and if he can hold on, can he continue to hold on for the next 2 years? That's his question.
Valuation perspective, it is looking a little expensive. Having said that, the stock has corrected, so you could see the stock trading a little bit higher from current levels. So I would say hold on for a bit, maybe not 2 years, but I think give it another 12 to 18 months.
So take coming in as far as CG Power then is concerned. Time for a very quick breather on the show. When we come back, we'll continue taking all of your stock related queries, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Let's continue taking all of your stock related queries, and the next one that we in fact have is coming in from Anand Maheshi, who's a senior citizen Osho, writing to us from Bengaluru. Wants to know about Britannia because he's holding on to some shares. Now he's not identified, he's not mentioned how many shares he's holding on to, but the buy price was 3,088 rupees. And he wants to know if he should instead switch to the likes of Dixon Tech, Keynes Technology. What do you make of this particular counter then?
See, overall, looking at the technical setup of Britannia, then a buying price when we have at 3088 and the counter has already seen approximately 2x kind of a return in 6400. And after that, there has been a decent correction also and is hovering at 4800. But still, I feel like that now it is at a very strong support zone. The zone of 4600, 4700 has historically also has proven to act as a very strong support. So if there is no need, then one should not divert funds from Britannia to other counters. But overall, Britannia from here onwards has a potential to have a pullback near the zone of 5500, 5600 from medium term time frame. But overall, looking at the companies like Dixon, then Dixon again is also looking very positive. So I would be recommending that one should not uh, divert funds from one of the counter which has already seen a correction to a fund which has not seen a correction in its lifetime. So I would rather say or advise that if someone is already holding enough cash, then one can invest in Dixon, but not to exit Britannia and buy Dixon at current price.
Coming in on what should be done with Dixon and Britannia, and that's Osho's take. Let's move on. Sharmila, coming to you. This query is coming in from our viewer Ramamurthy, who's writing to us from Bahrain, and the stock in focus is Reliance. He's asking if it's a good time to buy 200 shares of Reliance at the current market price. Earnings candidate today, how are you expecting the stock to perform, and is this a good buying price for Reliance right now?
So definitely, I think let the results play out and let the market react in whatever manner to the numbers. That said, overall, given where the businesses that Reliance is in and the valuations they are at, as well as the fact that if you're a long-term investor, these are the sort of companies that do tend to reward you in the long run. If you are a long-term investor and you're invested in the Indian market, I think that Reliance needs to be part of your long-term portfolio. So as I said, I'm not talking of what price you should buy it and how many shares you should buy. But let the results play out. Let whatever price action has to happen because of the results take place. And then I think you can definitely look to enter.
Rather than that's the take coming in as far as heavyweight Reliance then is concerned. The next one also that we have is coming in from Komal, writing to us from Mumbai. Wants to know about the 100 shares of Bajaj Finance then. Buy price is 7,500 rupees for a long term. What do you make of this particular counter then?
See again, the Bajaj Twins has not performed really well over the past quarters, but looking at the mostly fundamentals of the company and also the technical front, the counter has been hovering in a very broad range. On the lower end, approximately 6,700, while on the higher end, approximately 77, 7,800 is the immediate range for this counter. Currently, it is hovering above the short-term moving averages. So I am expecting that in the short-term period, this counter can again retest the zone of 77, 7,800 levels. So one can definitely stay invested in this counter. If we see a breakthrough above 7,800 on a decisive and sustainable manner, then we can definitely expect another set of rally in Bajaj Finance. So stay invested in this counter. This will obviously take a lot of patience to have it, but we can definitely expect a better returns over a longer duration in the coming periods.
So that's the outlook on Bajaj Finance. Expect a better outcome if you hold on for just a little bit longer. Sharmila, coming to you, next stock query coming in from our viewer Sam, who's writing to us from Bangalore. Currently holds 500 shares of ITC bought at a price of 510 rupees. He's asking for the outlook and what's your take coming in on ITC going ahead? Fundamentally, a lot has happened with the stock recently given the demerger. But what's the outlook on ITC Limited going ahead now?
I've been an investor in ITC for the longest time, and I must say that my experience has been good. So I think, typically what I'm trying to say is that these are the sort of stocks you need to be invested in for the long run. The cigarette-based business, if you ask me, is sort of dated globally because cigarette companies globally haven't done too well. But I think in the Indian context, the budget is never kind to them. But by and large, that has been the mainstay of ITC. They are in other businesses as well. We are looking at a demerger. In fact, at one point, they were all demerged companies and then they all consolidated and became one ITC. And now I think, the tide has turned and you're looking to sort of demerge again. So those are things that keep happening with the mood the market is in. But that said, their mainstay, as I said, continues to be the cigarette business, which is driving the revenue, sales, etc. So I think, yes, if you're a long-term investor, just stay invested.
Time to stay invested as far as ITC then is concerned, but the budget isn't kind to that particular stocks. We'll definitely be watching out for a reaction on that one. But with that, completely timed out on in terms of taking the queries up, then thank you so much, Osho, as well as Sharmila for joining us, and even Dhwani, who joined us earlier. But with that, completely out of time on the part where we address all of your stock related queries.
On that note, unfortunately, we're completely wrapped up on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. As we bid you goodbye, you stay tuned to the channel because Markets at Noon is up next.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.